My name is Patrik Baboumian, and I want to save the world. But I'm also a lazy person. So I would like to find a way that makes it easy to save the world, or makes it feasible for someone who, is lazy like I am, because I think I'm probably not the only lazy person out there. So I think what I want to do here is I want to find a way that makes it easy. And I wanted to ask you first, before I begin, if I would tell you that I might have found the way to make it easy to save the world, how many of you would join me and would say, well, I'm going to do it if it's easy and if it doesn't, cost me all my money or all my time or I don't know why, and I can still live and have fun, and I can make the world a better place? How many of you would join me? Just raise it. Well, that's awesome. I thought I have to kind of keep you under pressure and tell you that I'm going to ask why you don't want to save the world. But it seems that most of the people in the room would want to do it if it wasn't too hard. So wouldn't it be great if we would just wake up every morning and tell ourselves, today I'm going to try to save the world? And wouldn't it feel different to have a day, not just a day like every other, but to make every day feel like, well, today every decision that I make, I'm going to try to do it in a way that makes the world a little bit better instead of a little bit worse. And I think probably none of you guys here in the room is doing that every morning, right? I'm not doing it, to be honest. I'm not waking up in the morning and saying, today I'm going to save the world. But why aren't we doing it? And I think it has something to do with the way that society treats you once you acknowledge that you want to make the world a better place. And it's great because in German we even have a word for that. In German we say Gutmensch, which translates to in English they would say starry-eyed idealist, which I think Gutmensch is just a better phrase. And it's a way to make ridicule of people who are really trying hard to make the world better. And the question is, why are they doing that, and how can we, because what happens is, I think as a child, everyone has it within him. When we were children, I think most of us wanted to kind of, manipulate the world and make it different, and everything that we build, like if you have a painting or if you build a house or anything that you build, is an attempt to manipulate the world and make it a little bit more pleasant. So why are we kind of losing that ability and losing that drive when we get older? So I want to ask myself, why are we losing it? And is there a way to kind of get back to that inner drive, and how can we do that? So let's just have a world-fixing roadmap. The roadmap is going to contain me just talking a little bit about myself and why why I'm fascinated with the idea of being very strong, because you heard I'm apparently famous for being strong. So why am I fascinated with strength? And why am I caring so much about making the world a better place? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to tell you why I'm not looking in the realm of religion for answers, because a lot of people might look in that realm and try to find answers how to make the world better. And religions always have answers, but I found those answers not to be satisfying. I'm going to talk about that. And at the end, we're going to have a conclusion. We're going to have some postulates and some questions that arise, and hopefully find a solution to the problem. So let's just dive in. This is me throwing a washing machine. I'm kind of famous for that. And it has to do with the sport that I have done in the last few years. It's called Strongman, and the idea is to have different tasks that test strength in different areas, and then find out who is the strongest. I won that thing in 2011 in the heavyweight decision, and since then I can call myself the strongest man in Germany, well, at least for that year. So I won that title, and then I was vegetarian back then, I have to tell you. So I got kind of famous for being a vegetarian that still was kind of strong, and he was even the strongest guy in the country. And then I decided to go vegan. So I got even more famous for being a crazy vegan who still was strong, because I set some world records after going vegan, and I also won some more titles, so I was kind of still strong, and I wasn't eating any animal products. So that was unheard of for most of the media, so I was giving a lot of interviews and so on. But let's get to the point, how and where did this thing start that made me want to be strong and also made me want to fix the world? Well, it started when I was born, and I'm born in 1979, and this picture is from 1979. This is the Persian Revolution, where in Iran, where I'm born, they replaced something that was like a democracy with an authoritarian cleric state. And this was when I was born. And then in the same year, or in the year after that, also a war broke out with the neighboring country Iraq. So this is the setting that I'm growing up in. Then the next picture we see, this is my dad and I when I was 1 year old. So what happened next in my childhood is, when I was 4 years old, there was a car accident, and in that car accident I lost my dad, my mom was severely injured, and I also lost my little sister. So what you can see is that a lot of bad, nasty things were happening around me when I was a child, and that does something to you, right? So this was how I felt in those years. This is my feeling. I was very angry at the world. So the one thing that I was feeling was just pure anger, and that was the negative part. And then the positive part was, I was trying to escape reality by going into my fantasy world, where I would picture myself as some kind of superhero. And the Hulk was my favorite superhero, and he was super strong and super angry like I was. But he was also kind of a good guy, so he would get angry and destroy things, but at the same time he wouldn't attack anyone who wouldn't attack him. So he was kind of not angry in a bad way, and in a very destructive way. So I was kind of identifying with that and connecting with that. And that is where both ideas arise. So the idea of wanting to be strong, and that led me later on when we came to Germany, and that happened when I was 7 years old. We came to Germany and as refugees, and I grown up here. And when I was 14 years old, I found out that to actually become strong, it was not possible to get angry and then get green and get strong. So I figured out you have to go to a gym and train. So I started training when I was 14 years old. And I still had this idea within me that I wanted to be strong and I wanted to use that strength for good. I think at this point, a lot of people might think, well, why wouldn't you look into, I don't know, one of these holy books like the Bible or anything, and see if you can find the answer? And because these books really only exist because they think they have the right answer in how to make the world a better place. So now I'm going to tell you how I lost my faith in religion. So what happened is, I was 12 years old, and our landlord back then, he was breeding rabbits for food. He was breeding them for meat. And because he wanted to have the rabbits as big as possible, what he would do is he would take, when they would get babies, he would take the smallest babies and he would just kill them. So one day he did it again. He took one of these small rabbit babies, just threw it against the wall, broke its neck, and just threw it into the garbage. And I was 12 years old, very naive, and I was still, having faith in religion. So I took this rabbit, and I kind of started praying for it. So I started to pray and kind of cry and pray for several hours. And I wanted to be alive again. I just thought, this is so unfair, because it's not even necessary. You could just, let it grow, and then at some point, if you want to eat it, you could kill it. But to just take a baby just because you want, the offspring to be bigger and just kill it after it's born, that is so unfair. It seemed to me so unfair. So I was praying, and of course my prayers didn't get any answer. So that was when I lost my faith in praying. So I thought, well, if there are bad things happening on the planet, we should take care of them. Nobody's going to do that for us. That was the first step. And then the second step was in the years after, when I started to intellectually kind of question the ideas in religion, I started to realize that this whole idea of good and evil, and that is one of the main pillars of any religion, at least the Western ones, this idea of good and evil, and that evil people are going to be punished and good people are going to be in heaven when we die, it seemed kind of ridiculous to me because, if you take a look at the world, and you take a look at what makes us as human beings and what kind of, we are the product of genetics and experience. These are the two things, and the interaction of genetics and experience, that is what makes us. That is all that science gives us. There is nothing else that we can measure or we can find. None of those two things we choose. So these are two things that just basically happen to us, mostly. So how can it be if that combination of those two things is in a way that we are, the religion would call us bad people, how can it be that we are punished for something that we didn't choose? So I thought, this is really not giving me any answers, and I started looking somewhere else. So let's see if we can find a solution outside of the realm of religion. So I want to just have two postulates. My postulate number one is, if we want to transform the planet into something that is better than the state that it is now, we are the only species on this planet who can do that. Because we have technology, we have more intellectual power than any species on this planet, so we are the only species that can be the solution of making the planet better. At the same time, if we take a look at our impact on the planet overall, so on environment and other sentient beings, we are actually doing the opposite of making the world a better place. So we kind of could be the solution, but we are more the problem right now. So the question comes into play, how can we change that? How can we get from being the problem to being the solution? And then, for me, the crucial question is, can we make that easy? Because I'm lazy. So I want to find the easy way to be the solution instead of being the problem. And I think I found the answer. And it is actually something that pretty much every religion has actually also in it. But it doesn't come from religion. It comes from ethics. And it is something that it's called the golden rule, and most of you might know what it is. So it basically just says, treat others the way you want to be treated. And we apply that in all realms of ethics. We apply that when it comes to human interaction. We learn that it is good to treat others with respect. But we don't apply it when it comes to animals and when it comes to other life forms on this planet that can just feel pain the way that we feel pain. Then for some reason, we use a different logic and we say, we can do things with them that are not very nice, and we wouldn't do those things with other human beings, but because they're animals, logic doesn't apply here. We use different logic and we say we can exploit them. Now, the reason that I kind of started questioning that is also something that is pop culture, and it happened in my childhood. And I was a big fan of the classic Planet of the Apes movies. And if some of you might know the movies, you're going to know that what they did is they basically presented us kind of a mirror to show how we treat animals by just replacing us with apes. So they replaced us with animals, and the animals would just do to the humans in the film what we do to animals. So the apes would kill and hunt the human beings for sport. They would experiment on the human beings, and they would say it's okay to experiment on them because human beings don't have a soul like apes do. And of course, if you watch that, it comes across as kind of ridiculous. But the problem is, if you think about it, that is exactly what we do. And if you just go outside the box a little bit and forget about everything that you have been kind of taught up to that point, you find out that actually that logic that is ridiculous in the movie is also ridiculous when we apply it to animals. So to solve that problem and to kind of, as my solution to make this world a little bit better, I decided to treat animals and other sentient beings on the planet with the same respect and dignity that I use towards human beings. And that can only function if you don't consume animals, and that's what I do. So that's the reason that I'm vegan, and that's kind of my solution for me personally. What is yours?